You know that saying, no two snowflakes are alike? Yeah, that's kind of like asking publishers what's the biggest challenge they're facing right now. You get a whole flurry of answers.
I probably have to say the unknown, right? With the Google search changes, AI, what happens to the SERP, which I think is a large driver of audience for media brands today. Um, we're not exactly sure what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. And so I think that is building a lot of anxiety in the publisher community today.
There's a lot of unknowns. You got generative AI and the impact that's going to have to all of us. Cookie depreciation, of course, it's been going on for a while, but it's finally happening. And I would say also algorithm changes in like Google, right? Advertising. There was some issues, a week ago or 2 weeks ago that really have an impact to our traffic, and I feel like more of that is going to happen. So truly, when you combine all those unknowns, it's hard to predict what's going to happen to our industry. So it's a combination of things.
During the Spring's Digiday Publishing Summit here in Vail, Colorado, we spent a lot of time talking with publishers about the challenges they're facing. And as the challenge board shows, we got a lot of answers. We dug into those challenges during behind closed doors town hall discussions in which publishers were granted anonymity in exchange for their candor, and they were pretty candid. I also asked some of the publishers in attendance to share more about the challenges that they're facing and, more importantly, how they're going about dealing with those challenges. Here's what they had to say.
At Semaphore, we're extremely focused on delivering very, very high quality audiences to our clients from a campaign perspective, really making sure that we can acquire audiences, engage audiences that kind of adhere to specific audience segments, especially in a world where search and social are really on the decline from a news discoverability perspective.
The loss of referral traffic in our primary sources, so obviously SEO and social, make up a combined majority of our traffic, and we've seen pretty significant declines in both over the last several years.
Rethinking our definition of an audience, looking at the ways that you can identify who someone is, what is meaningful to them at a specific moment in time, and finding the way to match a marketer outcome with that consumer is really the most important thing that we have in front of us right now.
Being able to capture an audience meaningfully and monetizing it, and where you can take that in so many different directions, whether it's your 1P solution, how you're thinking about declared data, how you're thinking about everything from a newsletter to an event to registration, but the second factor there too is churn and retention and how you keep those audiences.
We have this saying internally that sometimes audience development and acquisition is a bit of a machete through the trees process. We have to really define very, very sharply the segments and subsegments that we're interested in serving, make sure that our product portfolio is really, really designed to deliver value to those folks, and then ultimately, provide content in a really seamless and smart way across all the channels in which they're engaged, whether it's web, email, live in-person experiences, or beyond.
We've had to kind of change our mindset of traffic being the primary goal from a social platform. Even a platform like Facebook, which has historically been where users are most comfortable clicking a link, reading an article on a .com site, coming back to Facebook, we know that the algorithm is not rewarding those type posts in the same way. So we have committed to still continue to publish on the platform and reach that enormous audience, but with the KPIs of reach versus traffic. So we're creating a lot more original video for those platforms, a lot more static imagery and custom content that users can consume within the platform. And we're seeing that being really rewarded by the algorithms, which does then translate to more referral traffic on those link posts. but we've just given up the days of 100% link posts on a channel and really tried to diversify the content, which seems to be rewarding our pages in all areas.
We have these rich pictures of who someone is when they're coming to us to read a specific article or to try to answer a specific question in that moment of need. And what that allows us to do is when we use that as the primary way that we are identifying a consumer and who they are, we can actually reach them in cookieless environments without an ID, regardless of sort of where you find them. And that is hugely powerful for both us as a publisher, the consumer who's in that moment of need, and the marketer, because they're leaned in, they're really excited to be answering that question. They've chosen us to help them answer that question. And when we can find the right advertiser to match to that moment, we see really, really strong outcomes.
There's a huge difference between a super user, a light, and a heavy user. So with our partners, specifically when we're trying to monetize that, we're taking a couple levers at the moment across that run the gamut. Everything from looking at how we can capture more declared data, looking at how we can create light registration experiences to capture that information, but then also leaning into moments that are important, in our case specifically earnings. It's a huge, huge period of time when we know that we see a lot of engagement. So how do we lean into that in a way where we can not just capture more and from our engaged users who might be spending our top 10%, who are the heaviest users on a site, but also thinking about it from that light user who is a one and done to check a stock. So it's a tricky situation, but it certainly is something that I think everyone at large is thinking about, and it runs the gamut.
I think lowering the dependency on traffic sources, no matter where they are, is an important lesson we've learned over the last 10 years with everything that's happened in social, everything that will continue happening in search. And so, no, I don't believe it'll ever be zero. But if we see ourselves in a position where 50, 60% of our traffic is coming from any other source other than our own ecosystem, I would highly encourage a publisher to look at where do you drive the most consumer value, where can you get folks to really raise their hand and enter your ecosystem and start driving more repeat value to those users so that if and when the unknown does happen, it doesn't really matter.
Setting aside the specific tactics to deal with individual challenges, though, I think Sharon Mills from Time nicely summed up the overarching MO for publishers to weather this flurry of challenges.
Focusing on what we can control, and then wait to see how the other things are going to impact the strategies that we're making now.